Hey guys, it's Greg O'Gallagher here from Kinobody.com, and in this video I want to talk about how to gain muscle without the fat gain that usually comes with it. How to add size to your chest, your shoulders, your arms, everywhere, while maintaining definition in the abs. How to go up, add 10, 15, 20 plus pounds without going up to 15% body fat. These are all good questions, and it can all be done without the use of steroids. So in this video, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. But first, to kind of show you the proof of the pudding, I'm going to share with you a few Kinobody transformations where people have literally built muscle while either staying lean or dropping fat. So let's take a look at that. Alright guys, it's Greg here. We're going to look at a couple transformations. This was on an email that went out to my list. Let's take a look at the first one. So this was by Adam S. And he actually runs his own site, Super Lean Fitness, but in 2 months, doing my superhero bulking program, he added a lot of size to his shoulders. As you can see, his shoulders right here, they're like a lot flatter, and here they really pop and they're rounded, almost having that 3D delta effect, and his chest really came through and thickened up. Massive difference, and he's also a lot leaner. He's wearing a shirt here, but you can't tell, but his waist went down like a couple inches or something. And so yeah, he packed on a lot of really good size in 2 months while losing fat, which is remarkable. And that comes down to the training and nutrition strategies we're going to be talking about very soon. And he's also in my Project Hollywood Physique group. And then we have Joe. He's also in my Project Hollywood Physique group, and he did superhero bulking for 4 months. And he went from looking soft as dough to carved out of steel. His shoulders came in, his chest became bigger and stronger, and his waist got much leaner. He was doing some dieting, but he followed the workouts and added a lot of muscle size. And the last one was from Kyle. He did my Greek God program for 6 months and went from 130 pounds to 155 with no increase in fat. As you can see in his waist, he's defined, really lean, low body fat. His strength went through the roof. He's doing 80-pound pull-ups. And he's absolutely jacked. And actually, before at 130, he had a condition where his sternum protruded, and so he was embarrassed to take his shirt off. But as he added the muscle, it became no longer visible. So he's super happy and confident, and I'm going to do a podcast with him soon. And so these 3 transformations just go to show you pretty much that you can actually add a good amount of muscle with the right training nutrition approach without adding any fat and even dropping fat. So let's get into some good stuff, guys. And before we go into the video, I just want to mention that all these transformations happened in like the last week. They were sent to me. So I have tons of transformations. If you want to see them all, go to my Facebook page for Kinobody. That's where I usually post them all, or Instagram. But let's get into it. Awesome, you're back and you saw that. So look, let's talk about how that's done. Now, to give you a bit of context, these guys are training, all of them, 3 days a week in the gym. They're intermittent fasting. They're skipping breakfast, eating 2 or 3 big meals later in the day. And so the first thing I want to talk about is something known as mega training, which is a term that I coined based on my philosophies, and that means minimum effort growth acceleration. So the whole premise is that we're focusing on doing the minimal effective dose with the most effective protocols. So by training 3 days a week, you get better neural recovery. You come to the gym more fresh. You're better able to make strength gains, and so by training 3 days per week, you're able to make faster progress. As well, we're using reverse pyramid training on key lifts. So your key lifts are the central movements: incline presses, overhead presses, weighted chins, the movements that really help support a great-looking body. And reverse pyramid training is extremely effective. And so we're using these different protocols that really help you get the maximum gains out of the minimum time. Then we're using some strategic rest pause training to really accelerate muscle growth on key muscle groups. So I mean, these are the different components of mega training. So what happens from my experience is that when you use mega training, when you focus on like the minimum effective dose and really key protocols, getting stronger, progressing on your workouts, you can actually build more muscle from a lower calorie intake. So instead of having to go into big calorie surpluses to build muscle, you can build muscle in a calorie deficit. You can build muscle at maintenance. You can build muscle just above maintenance. So you never really have to gain that much fat to build a great body. You don't have to gain any fat whatsoever, because here's the deal: if you're lifting 3 days per week and you're doing these different key lifts and you're adding, say 50 pounds to your incline bench press, 50 pounds to your weighted chin-ups, you're going to build muscle. There's no getting around that fact. Muscle gain will take place. And so that's really the approach that I come from. People love to complicate this muscle building thing and pontificate about all this different stuff, and really the reality is progressive overload, progress on your workouts, and how much nutrition do you need to support those strength and muscle gains. Sometimes people can do it in a calorie deficit, but if you really want to amplify results, you're going to want to use some different nutrition strategies. You're going to want to eat at a surplus part of the time at least. So for people that are still confused over the mega training we're talking about, well, I created a really in-depth downloadable PDF that you can read right here. It's at kinobody.com/mega-training. It explains all of it: rest pause training, reverse pyramid training, and a workout to really gain like really solid muscle. I wrote this article for Arnold Schwarzenegger on his site, on his fitness site, and hundreds of people have been doing the workouts and reporting great results. So if you guys want to check that out, it's kinobody.com/mega-training. It's kind of like a primer into my superhero bulking course, which expands over 8 months. But yeah, so that's the mega training. By focusing on the minimum effort, doing the minimum effort growth acceleration, you don't need to eat a ton of calories to progress in your workouts and build solid muscle. Now the other thing I want to talk about is nutrition. If you're progressing in your workouts and you're not even getting that many calories, you can still build muscle. I've seen this all the time. It happens. But to really get the greatest benefit, and if your goal is to really add lean muscle mass, you're going to want to eat at a calorie surplus. That said, you don't want to eat at a huge calorie surplus because our ability to build muscle is kind of slow. And by that I mean you're not going to be able to gain 20 pounds in 2 months. It's out of the cards. The best I've seen is about 25 pounds of muscle in 6 months. That's like the extreme example, but really it's usually about 2 pounds of muscle a month. So you don't want to eat to gain 4, 5, 10 pounds a month. Otherwise, that difference, that discrepancy is going to be fat gain. So if your body can build 2 pounds of muscle a month and you're eating to gain 8 pounds a month, well, what that other 6 pounds is 100% going to be body fat. There's no getting around that. So what you want to do is you want to set your calories in a way that allows you not to gain more than 2 or 3 pounds a month. And the way you do that is just put your calorie intake on average about 200 or 300 calories over maintenance. So if you burn about 2,500 calories per day, and I usually use body weight times 15 as a maintenance calculator for people that are lean. Someone that's overweight, it's going to be lower than that. But about 15, if you're really reasonably active, about 15 times your body weight in pounds. But then just add 200 or 300 calories over that, and that's what you play around with. And it might need adjusting. So if you're gaining less than 2 pounds a month, you might need to increase that number up. If you're getting more, you might need to drop it down. But it requires some fine adjustment. But that said, there's more there. I also find that intermittent fasting is very effective for lean muscle gain, and that's when you basically push your first meal later into the day. So you're eating 2 or 3 big meals in the early afternoon to the evening. And what happens with intermittent fasting is growth hormone goes up about up to 2,000% in men, about 1,100% in women, and that's not a bad thing. It helps preserve muscle protein, accelerate fat mobilization. It also improves insulin sensitivity, so when you do eat, and especially carbs, you can better direct those nutrients into your muscle stores away from fat gain. So it improves like insulin sensitivity, nutrition partitioning, getting those nutrients into your muscle tissues. My experience, so this is just my anecdotal experience, I find that when people are intermittent fasting on a lean bulk, they can get more out of a lower calorie intake. So someone that is eating 2,500 calories with 2 or 3 meals is going to be able to probably experience greater results in that anabolic window when they're really feasting for those 8 hours or 10 hours or 6 hours, whatever it is. I feel like they can get more out of those calories than if they ate them all day long. Do I have any research to support this? Probably not. So take that with a grain of salt. That said, there's a lot of studies showing these benefits of intermittent fasting, that you can actually preserve more muscle mass on a cut with intermittent fasting and with bigger late night meals. We're evolved to eat more at night. So this intermittent fasting setup really works well, and you can feel so satisfied. But that's not it. I also recommend using some good macronutrient ratios to best express muscle gene expression. So by that I mean getting an optimal protein, which isn't that high. It's about 0.82 grams per pound. You can go up to maybe 1 gram per pound, but I wouldn't go beyond that on a lean bulk. And the reason is because you're better off saving more room for fats and carbs. Fats are really important at promoting testosterone, and carbs are also really important at raising testosterone. And also, they help reduce cortisol by bringing up insulin. Insulin helps actually express muscle gene expression. It helps drive those nutrients into your muscle stores. It also, those carbohydrates are going to help be able to replenish glycogen stores and top off glycogen stores, When your glycogen stores are full, you're going to be in more in an anabolic state. When your glycogen levels are depleted from not enough carbs, your body's going to be more catabolic. So low carb diet's not ideal for building muscle. So for that, in essence, I would recommend getting in just adequate amount of protein, and then getting a lot of carbs and enough, moderate fat to support testosterone. That's going to allow you to experience better results than if you did low carb, or if you went too high in protein or low fat. So it's more of a balanced intake with a lot of carbs to help drive muscle growth, not while still being in that modest calorie surplus. And the last point I want to talk about is by using the intermittent fasting, you're cycling between periods of like fat burning and like overfeeding, undereating and overfeeding. And these two, the interplay between underfeeding and overfeeding is actually quite brilliant, because when you're actually, just to give you a little bit of an example, when someone let's look at celebrities, for example. When someone like Michael Fassbender did a movie called Hunger, where he lost a striking amount of weight. He gained like 20 plus pounds in 2 weeks after that, because underfeeding sets the stage for massive muscle growth afterwards. It upregulates all your anabolic receptors. So intermittent fasting actually helps, because that period of underfeeding really sets the stage for a lot of nutrition partitioning. But also, like Christian Bale's Cut Down the Machinist, it didn't take Christian Bale that long to go from The Machinist to Batman fucking Begins. He did it in less than a year or something. And people are like, how is that possible? Maybe steroids are involved, maybe not. We don't know for sure. But the fact of the matter is that he could go from The Machinist at 125 back to his original weight at 175 probably in a few months, because that underfeeding sets the stage for that massive rebound. And also, that muscle he's gaining isn't new muscle. It's regained muscle he used to have. But that's not the point. The point is, underfeeding really sets the stage for muscle growth. So it's important. It's useful to use that on a lean bulk. And by that I mean, what I would suggest doing is, if you want to really accelerate muscle growth, go into a 400 or 500 calorie surplus 5 days a week. Eat to gain that 1 pound of weight a week, but you're not actually going to be doing that, because then 2 days a week, drop the calories into a deficit. And so you have that period where you're really anabolic, you're in a surplus, you're going to be driving muscle growth, you're probably going to put on some fat in the process, but then you have those 2 consecutive days, maybe, Sunday, Monday, where you drop the calories down into a deficit, and then you go into that state of underfeeding, and you accelerate fat burning, and then by every week-long phase, you should have a bit more muscle with absolutely no increase in fat. And so I actually find that this strategy is better than eating at a surplus all the fucking time, because the deficit sets the stage, and it helps you stay leaner, and staying lean is good, especially for looking great. So these are some tips to how to build muscle while staying lean as shit. Yeah. If you guys want to get that bonus, go to kinobody.com /mega-training. That's the training philosophy on building a great physique. And if you want to get the full-blown program, go to superherobulking.com. All right, take care.